Okay, 7th graders, this is your practice 9 test. This should help you get prepared for the test that you have tomorrow. Remember, this is your last test before you take the final. You'll take a PACENT final, and you'll also take a Chapter 3 cumulative final, so Chapters 1, 2, and 3 for the trimester. All right, you can look at just the answers, or you can follow along and do the problems with me. All right, the first problems, number 1 is simple interest, which is our new skill for this week. So I'm just going to scroll the screen up here so I have a little bit more working space. And let's read it. It says, Mr. Smith deposited principal of $250 into the bank and received an interest rate of 7%. Using the formula I equals PRT, determine Mr. Smith's interest rate earned after 3 years. So a couple things. The title tells you it's simple interest, not compound interest, and they also gave you the formula, which means let's be smart and write the formula. So interest equals principal times rate times time. And it says determine Mr. Smith's interest. That means we're solving for I. So we're going to fill everything else in. The principal is the starting amount of money, $250. The rate is 7%, but 7% as a decimal is 0.07, and the time is 3 years. So if you need to do any of the multiplication, you have all of this space over here to do your multiplication. Like you could do 250 times 3 and get an answer. I can usually do it on my paper. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15, carry my 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And I still have to multiply it by that 0.07. And again, if you need the space to work, you can have 750 times 0.07 over here and do the math. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 5 is 35, carry my 3. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 3 is 52. And I have to remember that I have 2 decimal places, so my decimal goes there. So what is this? This is the interest is $52.50 that Mr. Smith has. So it's Mr. Smith's interest after 3 years. And I'm going to box my answer. Okay, remember you need that $sign. You need some sort of a statement that explains what it is you solved for. All right, looking at the next problem. Commission and profit problem. A car salesman sold an $11,000 car last month. His commission rate was 5%. Find the dollar amount of his commission. So that means he's not making an hourly salary. He's only making a percentage of what he sold. So we're asking, what is 5% of $11,000? And when we convert this to algebra, we end up with x equals 0.05 times 11,000, because the what is my x, is equals, 5% converts to 0.05 as a decimal, of is multiplication, and my 11,000 is my number. So we're going to solve. So I remember, so again, you can come over to the side of your paper and you can do the multiplication if you need to do it the traditional way. But I do know that when I multiply something that ends in zeros, I can just take the zeros. So I have 3 of them here. So I have 3 here. And 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 times the other one is 5. But I have 2 decimal places to deal with. So I put my decimal in 2 places in. So my answer is that he makes $550. This is the commission. This is his payment. Okay, his paycheck will be $550 because that's the commission of 5% of $11,000. All right, so again, I'm looking for that $sign. I'm looking for some word or statement. Okay, and I'm looking for all these fabulous math steps. Okay, looking at the next. Number 3 says, bananas are normally $2.50 a pound, and they're on sale for 20% off. find the sale price. Well, sale price means that it's a discount. And in math, discount means subtract. It's something less. So we need to figure out what the sale price is by first asking, what is 20% of $2.50? So X equals 20% times 250. And again, if you need the space, come over here and do the math. 250 times 20%. But I can usually do it in my head. I have 2 zeros. I have a 2 times a 5 is a 10. Carry my 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. And then I have to remember that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So my decimal goes here. So that means that 50 cents is the discount. That's what I've solved for. And notice how I've taken this line and I've changed it to look like money, because money doesn't have 4 decimal places out. So I needed to change it, and I'm saying 0.50 or 50 cents is my discount. Well, is that how much they sell for? No, that's just the discount. So I need to take the original amount of money, $2.50, and I need to subtract that discount, and I end up with $2. So my sale price is $2 per pound. And I need to write it as per pound. And I box my answer. Okay, looking at number 4 says that you're calculating the percent of increase and decrease. Last year, the average cost of a gallon of gasoline was $3.84, and this year the cost has risen to $4.80. What is the percent of increase? Well, we have that formula that says the percent of change is equal to new minus original divided by original. So let's plug in the numbers that we know. Our new number is $4.80, and our original number is $3.84, divided by our original number of $3.84. Now, if we think about this for a minute, it went from 384 to 480. That means it's an increase, which means our answer should come out to be positive. So I can do the subtraction, and if I need to, I can come over to the side of my page and say 480 minus 384. Remember to borrow, and we're going to end up with 96 cents. So our numerator is 0.96 divided by 3.84. Well, that's not a percent yet. So in order to get it to a percent, I have to divide and then multiply by 100. So I need to take my division and say 0.96 divided by 3.84. You move your decimal 2 places, so you move your decimal here 2 places. And then we're going to say 384 goes into 96 0 times. So we're going to add the 0 and now say 384 goes into 960 2 times. I don't think it'll go in 3 times. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Carry my 1. 2 times 6 or 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So when I subtract, I get 192, and I'm going to add another 0. So now I'm asking 1,920 divided by 384, and it looks like it goes in about 5 times. So 5 times 4 is 20, carry my 2. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 2 is 42, carry my 4. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19. So my answer here just became 0.25. Well, 0.25 still is not a percent. So we need to change this to 25% because we multiplied by 100 and moved that decimal over. Remember, we were solving for the percent of increase. So our fraction has to become a decimal, which then has to become a percent. So this guy is my final answer. And it is a positive number because I went from a small number to a big number. All right, doing the next one. 40 is what percent of 64? 40 equals x percent times 64. Now I need to get my x all alone, so I'm going to divide both sides by 64. So I end up with 40/64 is equal to x percent. And some of you write x percent like this, which is fine. Okay, now I'm going to simplify. Before I multiply, I'm going to take this fraction here and I'm going to simplify it. So 40 is really 4 times 10, and 4 is really 2 times 2, and 10 is 2 times 5. So my numerator is 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. And my denominator of 64 is really 8 times 8. And 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2. And I can see that I have equivalent forms of 1. So I'm left with a 5 in my numerator and an 8 in my denominator is equal to that x over 100. Now when I do my cross products, I end up with 500 is equal to 8x, and I need to divide by 8 to get x alone. So 500 divided by 8 is 62.5 is equal to x. So 40 is what percent is 64? Well, 40 is 62.5% of 64. All right, let's look at the last problem. The last problem is converting fractions to decimals to percents and going backwards and forwards with this. So 16%, we want to make it a decimal, which means we're moving our decimal places 2 places to the left because we've divided by 100, and we get 0.16. And I need to turn it into a fraction, so 0.16 is really read as 16 hundredths, but we have to always simplify, and it says up here, reduce all final answers. So divide both by 2 and you get 8/50ths, which can still be divided by 2, and you get 4/25ths. So 4/25ths is my fraction. And what I'd like to remind you is that if this one had been a negative, then this would be a negative, and this would be a negative as well. 1/8 is the fraction. So if I have to find it as a decimal, I do 1 divided by 8. 8 goes into 1 0 times. 8 goes into 10 1 time. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 8 goes into 40 5 times. So my decimal is 0.125. And now if I want to make this a percent, I take my decimal and I move it 2 places and it becomes 12.5%. And it moves 2 places because I'm multiplying by 100. Okay? And again, if this had been a negative, this would be a negative and this would be a negative as well. 0.55, we read that as 55 hundredths. Okay, well both those numbers are divisible by 5. 55 divided by 5 is 11, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. So that's my new fraction, 11/20. And in order to make it a percent, I multiply by 100, I move my decimal 2 places to the right, and I get 55%. Okay, that's it for tonight. Make sure you understand the formulas and how to use them. Make sure you understand how to show all your work, and I'll see you tomorrow.